Dear student, good morning to you. I am Dr. Dinesh Kumar, Principal Scientist, Division of Agronomy, IARI, New Delhi. Today is 8th February 2025, and I welcome you again that despite being a holiday, you made it to attend this lecture. Thank you for that. And we continue with the same topic, principles of crop production. What are the principles of agronomy or principles of crop production? As I have already told you, that there is difference in principles and practices. Principles are some guidelines, some suggestions, some information that you do this, you do not do this. You can do this way, you cannot do that way. So some guidelines are there, some rules are there, some laws are there. Those laws are called as principles, and that are to be followed in crop production. And as I told you, crop production is synonymous to agronomy. So principles are same. Let me clarify once again about principle and practices. What is difference in principles and practices? So practices are actually the things which farmers or growers actually do in the field. For example, principle is that your seed should be disease-free. Kyo Palash? When you are going to do sowing of the seed, then that seed should be healthy. And healthy means that should be free from insect pests and diseases. So this is principle. But what is practice to keep our seed free from disease? We go for seed treatment, isn't it? So seed treatment becomes a practice, and principle was to keep our seed or to do the sowing of the healthy seed, disease-free seed. So now hope you understood this, the difference in principle and practices. So just I will flash the slides, which I have already covered yesterday. So some literature, and then we try to discuss meaning of principles. And then today we will discuss meaning of crop and meaning of production. So principle we have discussed, and now we come to the crop. So every agronomy student should know the meaning of crop. Like there are many definitions. A cultivated plant that is grown on a large scale, commercially. Especially it may be a cereal, it may be a pulse, fruit or vegetable. So basically crop is a cultivated plant. We are growing it. That is grown on a large scale, normally large scale for commercial purposes. So this is one definition of crop. However, dear student, this crop has several other meanings also. Crop also means cut, to cut something. To cut something is also crop, especially a person's hair very short. Means cut my hair or crop my hair. So crop वहाँ भी use होता है. Similarly, crop word is also used to resize the picture. If your picture is bigger, you crop it, you cut it. So that is also a word crop. Crop is used. Crop means to cut something, especially a person's hair very short. Another meaning of crop is harvest. Simply, if you are harvesting something, that means you have cropped it, you have cut it. So harvest also mean crop. Okay, harvest also mean crop. This is a good harvest. This is a good harvest of mustard. ठीक है, तो यहाँ crop word का meaning is equivalent to harvest. So harvest means plants or their produce can be harvested. So it may be harvest, maybe plants, maybe product or produce. So harvest from a particular area, hay would have been cropped several times through the summer. Cropped means cut. So hay has been cut several times. So this cutting is also called as cropping or crop. Now you see the definition of crop for our or from agronomic perspective. A crop is a plant or a group of plants. Please do remember this definition. A crop is a plant or a group of plants grown and harvested for human consumption, animal feed, or industrial purposes. So this is perhaps complete definition of crop. A crop is a plant or a group of plants grown and harvested for human consumption, animal feed, or some other purposes. That is your crop. Crops can be divided into several categories, like we divide them into food crops, feed crops, fiber crops, oil crops, and ornamental crops. So there are a number of ways to classify the crops. Sometimes they are classified based upon the duration, annual, biennial, perennial crop. So can you give me example of annual crop? The crop which complete its life cycle in 1 year is annual. That completes in 2 years is biennial, and completing more than 2 years is your perennial crop. Can you give examples of annual crop, biennial crop, perennial crop? Palash.
Sir, annual crops, sir, it includes, sir, rice, wheat, potato, etc. Biennial crops, sir, it may be, sir, forage sorghum or barsim, and perennial crops, sugarcane.
Actually, annual crop are correct. What has been told by you, rice, potato, wheat, most of the pulses, most of the oil seeds are annual. The biennial crop is, example comes from vegetable science, which is carrot. Carrot is biennial for seed production. If you want seed from carrot, then you have to grow it for 2 seasons, for 2 years. In first year, it will give you root, carrot root. In second year, you will plant again, replant these roots, and then branching will be there, flowering will be there, and fruit set will be there. So it may be a 2-year crop. And then perennial crop means once you have planted and it grows continuously, there is no need for reseeding, then it becomes a perennial crop. So maybe sugarcane is planted one time and it can be harvested for 3 years, 4 years. Similarly, you were trying to give example of forage sorghum. But forage sorghum, most varieties are annual. Most varieties in forage sorghum are annual, but grasses like your hybrid napier. Have you heard of hybrid napier? Or napier
Yes,
bajra?
sir.
Hybrid bajra, bajra napier hybrid. So hybrid napier is a cross between palm millet and one grass is there. हाथी घास को क्या बोलते हैं यार? Elephant grass. Elephant grass का नाम क्या है? Penicillium purpureum. So hybrid napier is a cross between Penicillium americanum, is palm millet, and Penicillium purpureum. So it is man-made hybrid between two plants, and it can be planted and one time by the stem. Like we go for planting of sugarcane using a stem. So stem cuttings are used. In hybrid napier also, hybrid bajra napier, we take cuttings of the stem and do sowing the way we do sowing for sugarcane. And this napier grass or hybrid napier grows for several years. So they are actually perennial crops. So classification can be made based upon the duration, like this. Number 2, based upon family. You know, different families, we can classify crops. And we can make some classification based upon the uses. Uses means if you use them as a cereal crop, we use them pulses, oil seeds. Likewise, there are several classifications. If you are interested, I can send you one manual There are certain small bulletins published by IERI, and some PDF versions are available with me. So if you make a request, I can send you some manuals also. Manuals are small booklets which are published for students use. So some publications are available in PDF form that can be shared with you if you are interested. Now, you see, crops can be divided into several categories: feed crops, fiber crops, oil crops, ornamental crops. So this is how we know the crop. See, crop has many more meaning. Like I was talking about cutting. Another is moving. Move the grass. घास के ऊपर roller चलता है ना, that is called as moving. Moving the grass, grazing. Animals are also cutting the crop or cutting the plant. When they are grazing, they are also cutting or chopping or harvesting. वो भी grazing भी एक तरह का cropping है, cutting है एक तरह की grazing. Lopping of branches, cutting of branches for fodder purpose, particularly Sesbania. Perennial Sesbania is there, and also Subabulka. So some bushes and some trees the branches can be cut, and that can be fed to the cattle or animals. So it is also there, which is called as lopping. Lopping of branches means cutting of branches. See the example: sheep crop grass closely. This crop here is acting as a verb. It is acting as a verb. Crop. Sheep crop means काटती है. It cuts grass closely. A head of hair of a mane of a horse is cropped. Sometimes you see there is a horse, and above the neck it has hair. Those hairs on the head of horse are called as mane, M-A-N-E. So mane is also cropped. जो घोड़े का बाल होता है उसको भी क्रॉप किया जाता है, काटा जाता है. तो क्रॉप का एक मीनिंग वो भी है. Material that is harvested is also be it a plant or animal. उसको भी crop कहते हैं. Harvested material को भी crop. This is harvested crop. You see, mane, M-A-N-E, mane. Mane is the hair that grows from the top of the neck of a horse. It is thicker and coarser than the rest of the horse coat and naturally grows to roughly cover the neck. So cutting of hair of the mane is also called as crop. So you can see this crop word is not only for plants. It can be used in animals also. It can be used for birds also. बहुत सारी birds होती है जिसके गले के नीचे एक swelling होती है. वो that swelling stores food. Half digested food को वो store करती है, and that is given to the kids. जो नए बच्चे होते हैं, babies होते हैं birds के, it acts as a feed. वो वापस उगल देती है bird. Crop एक storage structure होती है यहाँ फूला हुआ सा. It is swelling, which stores half digested food, and that can be used to feed the babies. इसको वो बाहर निकाल देती है. कभी चिड़िया देखी आपने बच्चे को खिलाती हुई? You must have seen. So now you can check. The forester may speak of a timber crop. जो forester होगा वो timber crop. So timber का जो tree है वहां भी हम crop word को use कर सकते हैं. Crop tree. The livestock man of a calf crop. Calf होता है बछड़ा, जो गाय का बच्चा होता है, that is calf. So calf crop. So crop word is used for the calf also. जो बछड़ा होता है उनकी crop. और crop of a lamb. Lamb होता है आपका male sheep. Male sheep को lamb कहते हैं, या बकरी को भी शायद male goat को भी शायद lamb कहते हैं. Lamb भी कहते हैं ना पलाश? Male goat and male sheep is called as lamb. ठीक है? So lamb crop means they are in group. So for animal also they are using the word crop, lamb crop. The material harvested is referred to as a crop. Crop specifies certain kind of plants that are grown on purpose for a later harvest. So this is yet another definition of crop. Now you see, I was referring to the crop in birds. So you can see this picture on the right side. You see this picture. There is one swelling. One swelling on the bird. This is called as crop. You can see internally how it looks. This is hen or murgi, poultry hai. So you can see it has alimentary canal. Alimentary canal, but in between you see one pouch is there. One pouch is there. This pouch is called as crop, C-R-O-P, crop. This is also a crop. Means it is storing some food. It is storing some material. Therefore, they have named it crop. So you can see it is enlargement of the esophagus. Esophagus जो alimentary canal का ऊपर का part होता है. The upper part of alimentary canal is called as esophagus. यहाँ से जो शुरू होता है. So enlargement of esophagus. So you can see this is esophagus. This is esophagus and it is enlarging. And then it is also connecting to the alimentary canal. So you can see some overflowing material can go to the crop. So it is muscular pouch in bird's neck above the top of the chest. Top of the chest. It stores and produces crop milk. इसके अंदर जो स्टोर करता है उसको बोलते हैं crop milk. Secretion from the lining of crop of a parent birds that is regurgitated to young birds. Meaning is that it stores the kind of food or kind of milky material which is regurgitated, means expulsion of material from the pharynx or esophagus, usually characterized by the presence of undigested food or blood. Means taking it out to feed the baby is called as regurgitation. So this is helping a young baby to get food from the mother or father. Now, crop of leaders. You see, this crop word is used in many sense. Crop of leaders, जो leader होते हैं उनकी crop, उनकी फसल. Young crop of scientists or young crop of students. Young crop of students. One word is there, outcrop. Outcrop means a large mass of a rock that stands above the surface of the ground. एक अकेला पत्थर, बहुत बड़ा पत्थर अकेला कहीं खड़ा हुआ है, तो उसको outcrop कहते हैं. Means it is away from the main stones or main rocks. अकेला पत्थर है वो. So that is outcrop, means away from the crop. And then crop tree, fruit crop. Fruit crop के साथ, हालांकि fruit mostly आपके trees होते हैं fruit crop, but यहाँ भी crop word का use होता है. Field crop, vegetable crop, spices crop. There is one idiom also, the cream of the crop. The cream of the crop. The best of a group is of a similar things or people. एक से लोगों के बीच में जो best होता है उसको cream of the crop कहा जाता है. So by now you have seen that the crop word is used in several senses, different senses, but main meaning is that you are cutting something. And the thing which you have cut is also a crop. Thing which you are growing, plants which you are growing is a crop. Cutting it is also crop or cropping. And then the produce is also a crop. So produce is also called as harvest. This is my harvest of wheat. But how I obtained it? By harvesting it. So harvesting भी वही है, cutting है, crop, cutting भी वही है, cut भी वही है, और crop भी वही. So hope you are able to understand this, the meaning of this word harvest and crop. Lastly, we need to know what is field crop. Many times we are in agronomy, so we are asked, what is a field crop? So crop is a plant or animal product that can be grown and harvested extensively for profit or subsistence. Crop is a plant or animal product that can be grown and harvested extensively for profit or subsistence. Subsistence means to live, just to live life, means enough food or sufficient food for home purposes, self-sustaining for a small family. Subsistence means गुजारा भत्ता हमारा होता रहे, गुजारा काम चलता रहे, that is subsistence. There is no means extra money, there is no accumulation of wealth. Only simple is means hand to mouth. You see, hand to mouth. हाथ में आया खा लिया, हाथ में आया खा लिया, बचाने के लिए एक्स्ट्रा नहीं होता. Then such kind of state of people is called as subsistence. गुजारा भत्ता काम चलता रहता है. A plant such as grain, vegetable, or fruit grown in large amounts on a farm, or the total amount gathered of a such plant is also a crop. So you see, produce is also considered as crop. Now, this is the best definition for field crop. You can try to remember this definition. Field crop, because you are in agronomy, and agronomy deals with the field crops. So somebody can ask me, what is a field crop? So crop that is grown on a large scale in open fields or agricultural land. Remember, first thing is that it is grown on a large scale and also in open fields, means it is not under protected cultivation. It is in open fields or agricultural land for commercial purposes, commercial purposes such as food production, animal feed, or industrial uses. For example, wheat, rice, and maize. So this is the exhaustive definition, complete definition of a field crop. So you can remember few keywords like it is grown on large scale, number one. Number two, it is grown in open fields. Number three, it is grown for commercial purposes because you are growing in large area. So subsistence may not be the only purpose. You may be growing it for commercial purposes. For example, for food production, animal feed, or industrial uses. Example of field crop are wheat, rice, and maize. There may be many more crops which are field crops. All pulses, all oil seeds that we grow on the farm, on the fields are actually field crop because they are grown on a larger scale. Therefore, they are called as field crop. Kajal, is it fine? Is it fine? You have question?
No, sir.
Palash, you have question, beta? Any question?
No, sir.
Clear hai?
हाँ, sir.
Okay. Now, we have seen what is meant by principle. We have also seen what is a crop, principle of crop production. Now we will dissect the word production. What is meant by production? See, very interesting definition. The first one, the action of manufacturing, from raw materials or processes of coating, creating, growing, or manufacturing goods or products. Means you are making something. You are creating something by using certain materials, by using certain knowledge. By using certain knowledge or certain information, by using certain materials, you are producing something new, which never existed before. You are producing or you are creating something new that is known as production. Number two definition, you can see simpler definition, turning raw materials or inputs. Turning means converting raw materials or inputs into finished goods or products in a manufacturing processes. So you turn the raw materials or input into some manufactured product. That is also called as production. So here you are just creating a physical product, creating or just manufacturing a product in physical form. But there may be some production through your ideas also. Ideas are also, or knowledge are also part of the production process. Sometimes you also produce services. So So you need to see broader definition of crop production or just production. Now see, this is very interesting definition, very good definition. It can teach you what do we mean by production. Simply to produce something is production. But here, the processes and methods used to transform, transform means to convert, to make, to transfer tangible inputs. Tangible inputs means raw materials, semi-finished goods, sub-assemblies. Means tangible inputs means the real inputs, existing inputs that can be seen or that can be shown, experienced or touched. Means the input which can be seen through our naked eyes, the inputs which I can touch, which I can see, are your tangible inputs. So in production process, you need two kind of input. One is tangible input, other is intangible input. Tangible input you can experience, you can see them, you can touch them. But intangible inputs are just ideas, information, knowledge. That cannot be seen, that can be experienced. But this is necessary in the process of production. In the process of production, you need certain information, certain knowledge, how a machine runs, how it works, how it functions. So we need to have knowledge of the product. What color would give better sale? What should be the size? So knowledge is also important. In production process, inputs are there, which are tangible, and also knowledge inputs, which are intangible inputs, are necessary. So in production process, you need to combine both these inputs. Tangible inputs, intangible inputs, they are combined together to produce a new product, to manufacture a new good, or to produce a new service. This is called as production. I hope this definition may be very clear to you. Here I have also written what is meant by tangible input and intangible input. Intangible input, something that exists but cannot be touched. We cannot touch the knowledge in brain, exactly describe. You cannot exactly describe it or given an exact value. So such kind of inputs are intangible inputs. So simply you can see transformation of input into output is called as production. Palash, very simple definition. Or conversion of inputs or resources. You can call them resources, you can call them inputs. So conversion of resources or input into an output, into a product, is called as process of production. Clear?
Yes,
Now
sir.
you see what is crop production. After seeing this production, now you see what is crop production. A branch of agriculture that deals with growing crops for use as food, fiber, or other purposes. Means cultivation of crops is your crop production, and that can be grown for several purposes. See number 2 definition. Process of cultivating plants for the purpose of producing food, fiber, fuel, or other products. It involves, what is involved in crop production? Selection of crop varieties. It starts with the selection of crop varieties, then land preparation, and then sowing is done. Then you need cultural operation, irrigation, fertilizer application, insect pest disease management, and harvesting, etc. Being agronomy student, now you should be knowing what are different processes in the production, and I need not to discuss in detail. You know, we start with sowing seed. What kind of seed, sowing time, sowing depth, sowing methods, seed rate, fertilizer rate, irrigation management, weed control, all such activities are part of the crop production. Now, in addition to on-farm activities, crop production also involves post-harvest handling, storage, processing, transportation, and marketing of agricultural products. So as an agronomy student, you may be thinking that crop production is just up to harvesting, but that not complete the story actually. After harvesting, you must have seen what farmers do. They go for threshing of the product. Threshing is done by farmers, and after threshing, they may clean it. Cleaning is also done by farmers. Then grain drying. Grain drying is also important. So grain drying is also done by farmers. And then bagging or storing is also done by farmers. They store it, food material or whatever has been produced in their houses in different structures. They store it. Sometimes farmers directly sell it in the market directly from the field. But sometimes they store it and then after a few months, they sell it. So there are different ways and models to store and to sell agricultural products. But our crop production process ends up to marketing. So we need to study in crop production processes all kind of production activities plus harvesting, cleaning, grading, storage, as well as marketing becomes part of the crop production. It is inseparable. So marketing of agriculture products is also part of crop production. Even your value addition at farm level, if a farmer can add value to his product on the farm, it is also part of the crop production. Is it okay, Palash?
Yes, sir.
Marketing tak agronomy पीछा नहीं छोड़ती. Agronomy is up to marketing. It is not just up to harvesting. It ends at marketing. So these activities are important for ensuring the profit, quality, and safety of food and other agricultural products. Now, what crop production involves actually, it thus involves agricultural practices and systems concerning crop yield, profit, environmental, and ecological consequences with the goal of identifying best practices to produce more with less. Up to now, you were able to know what are different cultural practices, what are different components of crop production, what actually is done in crop production. Now we need to decide out of all these practices, which practice should all practice should be to their optimum levels. All practices should be to the best level at which farmers get maximum profit, its efficiency is high, and also there is least pollution of the environment, and also increased farm income. So these 3, 4, 5 points are kept in mind while optimizing the cultural practices or crop production practices. You see, efficient and sustainable production practices are essential for meeting the increasing demand for food and other agricultural products. So we need to do practices starting from seed up to harvest. We need to do practices that are sustainable. First thing, that favors the protection of natural resources, that favors the biodiversity, that favors less pollution, and that practice should favor more profit to the farmer. So we need to identify or optimize our inputs. Sometimes we say apply 3 irrigation. Sometimes we say apply 4 irrigation. Why do we say it? We say it because you will get the optimum use of input. You can increase profit and you will not lose natural resources. Why we say that you apply this much of recommended dose of fertilizer? Because at that recommended dose of fertilizer, farmer will get maximum profit. Growth will be okay and everything would be fine. So therefore, we need to standardize. We need to find out the best practices. So you can see efficient and sustainable production practices are essential for meeting the increasing demand, like conservation agriculture, best management. So I stop here and we will meet on the link 2. Okay, please click on the link 2. This is ending here. So welcome back in the class. As you know, we were discussing about the sustainable practices, and I tried to give you example of CA. Conservation agriculture is considered as a sustainable practice. So as far as possible, we should try to adopt conservation agricultural practices, particularly in the light of the changing climatic scenario. Now your global warming is happening and crops are facing several problems. Shortage of water may be there. In some cases, there may be excess of water. So water stress may be faced by plants. Do you know that these stresses are also both sides? Means suppose your water stress can be shortage of water and can be excess of water. In both cases, it is water stress. It is just not the shortage. It is also excess. Sometimes temperature is very low, harmful to the plant. But sometimes temperature can be also high, very high. So in these cases, both these extremes are stress. We can call them temperature stress. Similarly, there can be some other inputs where you can get extremes. So this conservation agriculture can tolerate stresses better than conventional agriculture. Now, best management practices, people speak best management practices or good agricultural practices. They are the same. Some people prefer calling best management practices. Some try to call them good agricultural practices. They call BMP or GAPS, GAPS. They are same. Means starting from sowing up to harvesting, they have suggested number of practices which are good agricultural practices. They vary from commodity to commodity, from crop to crop, and we need to identify those good agricultural practices. Next is OF. OF is your organic farming. As far as possible, it can also be adopted at some areas or in some places. Then IFS, integrated farming system, is also a sustainable approach that is required to be followed. Then ICM is integrated crop management. And then RA is regenerative agriculture. So let me explain you these 2-3 terms. Integrated farming system. So integrated farming system is a farming system where two or more enterprises, including crops, are combined for better income, better use of resources, and better environment. So that is your integrated farming system. So actually what happens in integrated farming system, we also need to grow crops, and crops are grown by ICM. Crops in integrated farming system are grown by ICM method. ICM is called as integrated crop management. ICM is integrated crop management. So let me explain you first what is integrated crop management. So integrated crop management is adoption of crop rotations and all integrated practices. Adoption of crop rotations and all integrated practices to grow the crops or to go for crop production is called as integrated crop management. Means in integrated crop management, we need to follow crop rotations, number one. Number two, we need to follow practices which are integrated. For example, integrated pest management, integrated weed management, integrated disease management, integrated nutrient management, integrated water management. So wherever this integrated term can be used, all these integrated practices should be used along with crop rotations, then it becomes integrated crop management. Okay, clear? Integrated crop management where we follow crop rotations plus all the integrated crop management practices like integrated disease, pest, insect, or nutrient, water, weed management, etc. We combine all these practices. So naturally, this ICM will be soil friendly. ICM will be your environment friendly, and it will be also profit friendly. It will give more profit to the farm. So चारों तरफ अच्छा ही अच्छा होगा ICM से. Then what happens? You take ICM plus one more enterprise. Then it becomes IFS. For your understanding how to define IFS, if you grow crops by ICM method and plus one more enterprise, you can take, say, apiary, this apiculture, sericulture, or you can take poultry, any one more enterprise along with crop can become your integrated farming system. ठीक है? Now, for your better understanding, I have made this picture, and you can see, you can start with understanding the principles of crop production, how they are related to each other. And at every stage of production, you need to follow principle. Whether it is selection of soil, selection of seed, or at the starting point, farmers may be taking several decisions. They may be doing several practices, and they require to follow several principles, starting from selection of land up to marketing. They will be taking number of decisions. They will be using number of principles, and then considering the principles, they must be doing some practices. So this is how everything is interwoven. Now you see inputs. Dear students, there are two kinds of inputs. One are natural inputs, other are artificial inputs. I referred other day also. Natural inputs, natural inputs or natural resources are soil, water, your forest, wildlife, minerals. Number of minerals are available in the nature. You know about lithium, you know about rock phosphate, you know about gypsum, you know about potassium chloride. There are a number of minerals, you know about coal, sona, chandi, hira, ये सब mining की जाती. So all these minerals which are given by earth to the human beings free of cost are natural minerals. Of course, sona, chandi free of cost nahi hai, but nature has given us free of cost. But these are minerals. So minerals are natural resources. Forest, wildlife, water, soil, landscape, all such structures are natural resources. But we also use seed, machinery, fertilizer, pesticide, herbicide. So these are artificial resources or man-made resources. So, but production is possible only when natural resources and artificial resources are combined. You need to combine both. You need machinery, you need tractor, you need plow. You also need seed, but you also need soil. So production is possible only by combining natural and artificial resources. So what is to be done here? The natural resources should be preserved as far as possible. The natural resources should not be misused. The fertility of the soil should not be degraded. The water should not be used in excess. Only the needful quantity of water should be used. There should not be any soil erosion. Means during the process of crop production, we should try to conserve the natural resources as far as possible. We should try to improve the biodiversity of the soil, the health of the soil by preventing soil erosion. We can improve soil health by reducing the chemical use into the soil. This is one part that during production process, we should conserve and make best use of our natural resources. Now comes your artificial resources or inputs like fertilizer, pesticides, or diesel, or tillage. These are our artificial resources. So for example, in case of tillage, if we do too much of tillage, we need to consume a lot of energy, lot of plowing will be required, whether it is animal energy or or mechanical energy. Mechanical energy comes from machine, like tractor can plow the land. Animal can also plow the land. But these days, mostly people are using now tractors or machines for cultivation of crops. So diesel is burnt. Diesel is burnt, that means it will create pollution. And also excess tillage can result in soil erosion. So better to reduce the tillage. If we reduce the tillage, if we make the practice of reducing the tillage, then it can conserve soil and it can also reduce the fuel consumption. जो fuel consumption tractor में होना था, उसको भी reduce करेगा, and then it will reduce the cost of cultivation. Means what we are doing, we are increasing the efficiency of the artificial inputs. We need to increase the efficiency of the artificial inputs. So now finally, I can say two words. One is that we should try to preserve the natural resources as far as possible. Number two, we should use our artificial resources more judiciously, more efficiently, and then make the best combination of natural resources and artificial resources to produce the crop. So that should be the strategy in crop production. Now coming to the minor level, now it will become much easier for you to understand. So land, water, labor, these are our natural resources. Labor can also be counted under natural resources because I can do labor, you can do labor. So labor is human being, and human being is part of nature. You know, we are also part of nature, but labor can come under both kind of input. Whether if we consider ourselves as part of the nature, then if we can say wild animal, if wild animal are natural resources, so can't human being be natural resources? इस पे सोचना. Just think over it. Are we natural resources? Human resources are natural resources or artificial resources? So we, a human being, cannot be artificial resources. We are part of nature, I can say. We are part of nature. So we are natural resources, I think. But when we do labor, when we get money, अगर कोई free में labor कर रहा तब तो वो natural. If they charge money, then it becomes your artificial resource. So think over it, whether you discuss with your teachers of economics, whether labor is your natural resource or artificial resource. But definitely you need to make payment for labor resources. But do we make payment for air? जो atmosphere है, our plants take carbon dioxide from air. Is not it? It is there. So plant take carbon dioxide from atmosphere and they fix it during the process of photosynthesis, which is called as carbon assimilation. Now think over it. In this process, do farmers pay money for the carbon dioxide? पता है ना photosynthesis होता है. Do farmers pay money for carbon dioxide? No, they are not paying. So it is a natural resource. Plants also breathe. They take up oxygen from the atmosphere. We also take up oxygen from the atmosphere. Is somebody charging for oxygen? No, it is a natural resource. We are getting it free. So similarly, there are a number of resources natural resources where we do not charge. But take the case of coal. Take the case of petroleum. All these petroleum products are also natural resources. Nature has given us them free of cost. But in these cases, people charge you. Petrol is natural resource, but they charge money for it. Similarly, labor could be a natural resource and they charge money for it. So our resources, you can see number of resources are used in production. I have given a very small list of resources: land, water, labor, seed, manures, fertilizer, pesticide, machines, energy, etc. So these are the resources or inputs. And we need to have combination of these inputs. We need to find out the best combination of these inputs. My dear student, you need to study response functions or production functions. In agricultural economics, the chapter starts, there are some chapters on factor-product relationship. You will see factor-product relationship. Factor-product relationship. So there can be 2 factors, there can be 3 factors, 4 factors. What should be the ideal combination of all these factors? This is to be explained based upon certain laws of economics. So you also need to study these kind of relationship between input and output. In economics, these inputs or these resources are called as factors. These are considered as factors of production. In agronomy, we call them inputs or resources. But same thing, in economics is called as factor of production. समझ में आ गई बात? चीज वही रहेगी, लेकिन इकोनॉमिक्स में जाके that becomes factor of production. मैं इसलिए बता रहा हूं कि आपको कंफ्यूजन ना हो. चीजें एक ही हैं, थिंग इज सेम. वहां हम फैक्टर बोलते हैं, कहीं इनपुट बोल देते हैं, कहीं रिसोर्सेज बोल देते हैं, बट दे आर द सेम. सिर्फ हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग जो है ना, सोचने की अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि किसी किताब में नहीं लिखा है. हमारी जो इंडिया की बुक लिखी जाती है बड़ी एम्बिग्यूटी के साथ लिखी जाती है, क्लैरिटी के साथ. किसी में दम नहीं है कि वो क्लियर करके अच्छे तरह से किताब लिखे स्टूडेंट जिससे समझ पाए. तो ये चीज किताब में नहीं है. जब इकोनॉमिक्स में आप पढ़ोगे तो वो सीधे शुरू करेगा फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. सो देयर आर 4 फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन. क्या है इकोनॉमिक्स में?
लैंड, लेबर, कैपिटल और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप.
Good. Land, labor, capital, or entrepreneurship. So 3 factors are okay, but sometimes 4th factor, people call it 4th factor as management. Sometimes they also call it organization. Sometimes they also called as your directly the grower, or factors related to the farmer or producer. So you can also call it entrepreneurship. That is also correct. But the name changes. Person remains same. Means who is taking risk, who is taking decisions, all kind of decisions is your entrepreneur. Either entrepreneur or it is farmer, or it is a grower, producer, organizer, or manager. So these are 4 factors of production. Now see, when we use all these inputs, we need to combine. We need to make combination of different inputs. Like in case of NPK, we say take N so much, P so much, K so much. Combine it, use it. Similarly, we say that use this much dose of pre-emergence herbicide, this much dose of post-emergence herbicide. So we are combining, we are making combination of inputs. We say, if you use more fertilizer, use more irrigation. If you have less fertilizer, then use less water. So you see, nutrient and water, they have interaction. They have positive interaction. So many of our inputs have interactions. So therefore, we need to understand what are the better combination of different inputs. So we need to combine that. And there are certain principles that give us guideline for making combination of different natural and artificial input and artificial to artificial input. So those guidelines are there. And at this time, at the use of input, seed is an input, fertilizer is an input, machine is an input. So you need to follow certain principles by selecting or making combination of all these inputs. For example, selection of seed or variety, certain principles are there. The seed treatment is there. Choice of soil, in which kind of soil should I grow which crop? Selection of crop is also important. If my soil is dry, it does not retain water, and so I cannot suggest to grow rice. I can suggest you can try palm millet, you can try sorghum, you can try pulses. So it depends upon soil type. which crop to be taken, which variety to be taken. Crop rotation, which rotation is to be followed, what are the principles of rotation, cropping system, manuring management, all sorts of inputs. We need to apply principles of all these inputs. And then economics is also there, farm management, principle of find out the best combination of inputs. So this is at the early stage when farmer is going to try sowing or establishing the crop. We call it during crop establishment. Now you see, actual crop production started, crop started growing. Then also you need to follow certain principles. For example, when crop start growing, there may be photosynthesis by the crop. There may be nutrient cycles in the soil. In the soil, there may be nutrient cycles. Nutrients would be getting decomposed. Some nutrients will be mineralized. Some fixation will be there. Immobilization will be there. All this system is called as nutrient cycles. Means conversion of nutrients from one form to another form. From mineralized form to organic form or fixed form, and from fixed form or organic form to mineralized form. So such kind of cycles happen in the soil during the growth of the crop. Then nitrogen fixation can also happen by free living organism or by rhizobium. Biological pest control is feasible here at this stage. Soil organism like mycorrhiza, genetic control of stresses and variety. So here also, we need to encourage photosynthesis. We need to encourage nutrient availability. We need to encourage water availability, and we need to control the pest. So number of things are to be done here. For this, we follow some principles of crop production. Here we need to do efficient soil crop, and climate management is also important to optimize the growth. We want optimum growth. We do not want maximum growth. Optimum growth will give us better result in terms of economics, in terms of soil health. Last, you see that nutrients are also lost from the system, like plant uptake, leaching, erosion, fixation. Here, the message to show you is that soil can also get depleted from the nutrients. Soil can depleted from the nutrient. You know about nutrient mining and nutrient depletion. Do you understand difference in nutrient mining and nutrient depletion? Let me explain. When we grow the crops, we apply nutrients in the form of fertilizer, in the form of organic manures. So what happens? Sometimes we are not applying nutrients back to the soil. We are not applying nutrients back to the soil. Whatever has been removed by the crop. Do you know that if you are growing a crop of rice, it can remove about 110 to 120 kilogram of nitrogen from 1 hectare area. If you harvest rice from 1 hectare area and getting yield of 5 tons per hectare, then that means you are also removing 110 to 120 kilogram of nitrogen from 1 hectare area. It is carried away from the field. And you are also removing 20 to 23 kilogram of P2O5 phosphorus per hectare. You are also removing about 100 to 110 kilogram of K2O, means potassium per hectare. So when we grow the crops, large amount of nutrients are taken up by the crops, and year after year we are growing the crop. That means our soil will become less fertile. If the nutrient status in soil is low, then you will call it a less fertile soil. If the nutrient status is high, more nutrient content in the soil, we will call it fertile soil. So simple. So our soil will become infertile if we grow the crops continuously and take out the nutrients from the soil. And at the same time, we are not adding any amount to the soil, any amount of nutrient to the soil. Just we are taking away from the soil. Just we are harvesting crop, harvesting nutrients from the soil, and we are not adding back anything to the soil. Then it is called as nutrient mining. It is called as nutrient mining. You know about mining. What happens in mining? जो खनन करते हैं, माइनिंग में क्या होता है? फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू आर डूइंग पेट्रोलियम माइनिंग, यू आर डूइंग माइनिंग ऑफ कोल. एक बार कोयला निकाल लिया आपने, दोबारा तो वापस नहीं डालते ना. इट इज गॉन फॉर एवर. Once you have removed the petroleum, once you have removed the coal or any mineral from the soil, it cannot be given back to the soil. You have just removed it. And it is lost forever. हमेशा के लिए खत्म हो जाता है. Because you are not putting the same coal back to the mine. You are just taking out, just taking out, just taking out. Someday your mine will be exhausted. सही कह रहा हूँ, गलत कह रहा हूँ? You are just taking out, taking out, taking out. You are not adding anything back to the mine. Then someday your mine will become barren. It will not have anything. So similarly in soil, just you are taking away, taking away, taking away. You are not adding back any nutrient. Then this is your nutrient mining. For example, Palash has a bank account in which he has deposited 10,000 rupees. Today he has withdrawn 1,000, tomorrow 1,000. So after few days, his account will be zero, and it can become negative also. It can become negative also. So this is mining of the nutrients. And one word is depletion. Depletion means you are removing more nutrients from the soil and you are adding less nutrient to the soil. Here the case is somewhat different. You are adding the certain amount of nutrients to the soil, but you are not adding exactly the amount of nutrient that has been removed from the soil. So still negative balance will be there, but the status of nutrient will decline over time. This is called as nutrient depletion. Removing more, adding less is your nutrient depletion. Removing nutrients and adding nothing is called as nutrient mining. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear. So what happens? We should not do such practices of nutrient mining and nutrient depletion. Depletion should not happen. So here also we should save the resources. Save the resources by enhanced efficiency. So we can enhance the efficiency. Suppose whatever nutrients we are applying, we need to increase their efficiency. So we can produce more with less. We want to produce more with less. I have already told you that in case of artificial resources, we should increase their efficiency. We should increase their efficiency. For natural resources, we should do the practices that preserve the natural resources. So ultimately, you will get reduced cost of cultivation and increased profit or income and reducing the post-harvest losses. So this is how we can simplify the things. Any point, anything you want to discuss, any question in your mind, you are free to interact. अगर कुछ समझ में नहीं आया तो पूछ लीजिए. Is it okay, Palash?
Yes, sir.
कुछ नहीं आया तो पूछ लेना यार. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. Therefore, the adoption of principles of crop production result overall, if we follow crop production from stage 1 to last stage, from you can say selection of soil or selection of field up to marketing, what can result? What can we find? Number one is the adoption of principle will help us getting good crop yield. If we follow the principles of crop production, principles of agronomy in letter and spirit, then we can increase the yields. Higher production is possible. Number two, maximizing the profit. We will get more profit, preserving the soil and environment. So these adoption of principles will give us better soil and better environment, less pollution of the environment and better soil health, and enhanced above and below ground biodiversity. We need to increase the biodiversity. We want more diversification of the plant on the surface and below the surface. We want both kind of biodiversity. We want more type of crops on the earth surface or above the surface and below the surface. So these are the four important output that are result of adoption of principles of crop production. So overall also, my dear student, whenever you are asked a question in agronomy subject, you should see it from at least three perspectives. Whether it is able to produce sufficient food or sufficient production, it has to be there. Sufficient production has to be there. Number one, is it environment friendly? Second aspect we should look is whether this particular practice or principle is favoring the environment. And number third is income. And number fourth is what happens to natural resources. Are the natural resources preserved or not? Means, is there pollution of water? Is there pollution of soil? Is there any problem? Means our natural resources should not be deteriorated. They should be maintained. They should be maintained in good health. There should be good health of our practices. So overall, you can see that our natural resources should be preserved. They should have good preservation. The absence of inputs or artificial resources should be increased. It should protect the environment, give better yields and better biodiversity above the soil and below the soil. So you can see this is how we can summarize. Now I will continue this in the next lecture. I'll talk in detail. I'm a bit slow. I'm not so fast in teaching. So I will discuss in next lecture because time is only 3 minutes now, 3 minutes 50 seconds. So these practices, principles and practices, I will try to discuss, I will try to relate principles with practices and how these principles are useful. For example, soil management, as we were discussing. Soil management is also for crop production. You cannot separate soil management from crop production. Soil management is nothing, means how you are doing plowing. The main objective of soil management is to preserve the integrity of the soil, to preserve the fertility of the soil. So how you can preserve the fertility of soil? Crop rotations can be adopted in soil management, better soil management. We need crop rotations. Practices that preserve soil or prevent the soil erosion should be followed. Practices that improve organic matter content in the soil should be followed. Practices that reduce the environment, the soil pollution should be followed. Such kind of practices should be followed. That becomes your soil management. The water management also contribute to soil management. So it is, I tell you both you that you try to use this and first you try to analyze yourself. You will get answer yourself also. Okay, on any topic. So any question? If you have any question, any point of discussion, you can ask me. You can send me emails on my email. My email is at the start of the presentation, dineshctt@yahoo.com. So in a day or two, I will send you books, etc. I'll send you PowerPoints also. So your question, Kajal or Palash?
No, sir, everything is clear. There is no
Everything is
question.
clear? Oh. So it has to be slow and it has to be a bit long time. Means in 10-15 minutes, I cannot justify my lecture. I need at least 1 hour, 1 full hour, or 1 hour, 10-15 minutes. So next, when you want your lecture next.
Sir, tomorrow?
Okay, what time? What time, Palash, beta tu bata time?
Sir, 11, sir.
11?
From 11 a.m., sir.
11:30 भी कर सकते हैं हम? नहीं?
Okay, sir, as per your convenience, sir.
Means I agree to 11, But if I am given a choice of 11 and 11:30, then I will prefer 11:30. Otherwise, I'm okay with 11 also. So what you decide?
Okay, sir. 11:30. Okay.
11:30, sir.
Thank you. So I'll start at 11:30 tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday. Okay, see you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.